Formula E has proven itself as one of the world's most competitive and unpredictable motorsports. The cars and circuits are designed to encourage closer racing, meaning drivers aren't shy in getting their elbows out and showcasing their skill and racecraft. This type of racing, more often than not, involves everybody in the field, veterans and rookies, with some getting up to speed with Formula E racing quicker than others. So let's dive into the archive and uncover some of the most impressive rookie performances in Formula E. First up is two-time Formula E champion Jean-Éric Vergne. Vergne's introduction to the sport came during its inaugural season back in 2014. The Frenchman was announced as an Andretti Autosport driver shortly before the third race of the 2014-15 season in Punta del Este. To everybody's surprise, Jev stormed through the qualifying field and took pole position on his Formula E debut. And that performance followed into the race as well, closing in on Sebastian Buemi heading into the final lap. Despite driving flawlessly throughout, Vergne hit a curb and smashed his suspension, forcing him to retire from the race.
Jean-Éric Vergne is slowing, and he is not going to finish this race, which surely means Buemi's going to take victory.
So close to being the only person to secure both pole position and challenge for a win in their debut Formula E race. The first season performances didn't stop there though, as Jev would go on to start a third of the races that season from pole position and take 2 podiums. No wonder he went on to become a double back-to-back Formula E champion. Jake Dennis joined what was BMW I Andretti Motorsport in Season 7. His season didn't get off to a great start, with back-to-back retirements in Diriyah and Rome. Things soon changed, however, as he commandeered pole position and the win in the second Valencia E-Prix. From lights to flag, Dennis proved himself in spectacular fashion by leading every lap in what was said to be one of the most difficult races of the season. His second win came in a home race in London. This time starting from second on the grid, his performance showed he was more than capable of taking on the most experienced drivers in the field. Coming into the final race with only 4 points between him and leader Nick de Vries, Dennis had a real chance of becoming Formula E's first world champion. Until disaster struck. Not long into the race, coming into turn 1, Dennis was unable to stop his car and quickly found himself in the barriers. Despite the DNF, he still finished the season in third, the best rookie finish since Felix Rosenqvist in the 2016-17 season, a driver we'll be discussing more later on. Pierre Gasly, the current Scuderia AlphaTauri Formula 1 team driver, made 2 appearances in Formula E in 2017. 3 months prior to his Formula 1 debut for Toro Rosso, Gasly was drafted in by Renault Edams to replace Sebastian Buemi at the New York E-Prix doubleheader. Despite the fact that the shakedown session before the race weekend was the first time Gasly had ever stepped foot in a Formula E car, he still managed to beat his teammate Nico Prost in both races. A disappointing qualifying performance in his debut race left him starting 19th, but Gasly still managed to climb up 12 places on the grid, turning that near to back of the grid start into 7th and points. Better yet, in round 10, Gasly topped his Group 3 qualifying with the fastest time of any driver over the weekend, finishing 4th in Superpole and going on to maintain that 4th position in the race. Pascal Wehrlein was announced as Mahindra Racing's driver on the first day of Season 6 pre-season testing in Valencia. Pascal was no stranger to single-seaters before life in Formula E, having raced in 2 seasons of Formula 1 for Manor Racing and Sauber prior to joining the championship. His debut race in Morocco ended abruptly with a race-ending collision on the very first corner of the race. This didn't deter Wehrlein, however, as he went on to bounce back 5 weeks later in Santiago, with an impressive qualifying performance landing him a 2nd place start. Towards the end of that race, Wehrlein pushed for the lead, ducking and diving to try and overtake Sam Bird, but eventually had to slow down because of car temperature.
Yeah, it's great feeling, but I'm also a bit sad because I think we could have won today, but the team told me I have to slow down. We are crucial on temperatures for the battery, so yeah, I was saving energy at the beginning. I was so fast in the end, so yeah, I know I should be happy, but yeah, I want to win.
That room for improvement came directly afterwards in a mesmerizing Mexico City E-Prix. The German smashed Superpole by beating Lucas di Grassi by 0.3 and was on course for the first ever rookie pole-to-flag moment until his car agonizingly ran out of energy on the final corner. Di Grassi managed to clinch first in one of the most dramatic and famous moments in Formula E history. Felix Rosenqvist joined Formula E in the 2016-17 season when Mahindra Racing announced him to be their second driver. His debut came at the Hong Kong E-Prix, in which he outqualified his teammate Nick Heidfeld. Though an early accident in the race hindered his chances of success, the Swede showed what he was capable of and secured the fastest lap and his first championship point. In the second round in Marrakesh, he took a stunning pole position, though energy management in the race would get the better of him and made him drop to third. His pace continued in the European races, finishing 6th and 4th in Monaco and Paris, though these performances would be overshadowed by an excellent race weekend in Berlin. Rosenqvist took third in the first Superpole of the weekend and went on to take the win after a move on di Grassi. That race was then bettered by a pole position and second place the following day, moving him into the top 3 in the championship. Rosenqvist would stand on the podium 2 more times in his debut season, once in New York and once in Montreal. The latter, again, starting from pole position. Both races he finished in second, finishing third in the Drivers' Championship. With 3 pole positions and 5 podiums, Felix Rosenqvist's rookie debut season is the highest ranked of any Formula E debut. Despite a one-off race for Mahindra Racing in the 2016 season, Oliver Rowland's maiden Formula E campaign came in the 2018-19 season for Nissan Edams. In his debut race, the Brit claimed his first points finish with 7th place, just 1 place behind teammate Sebastian Buemi. Though a dry spell of points would take over for the next 4 races, Rowland came back in spectacular form in Sanya, getting pole position only to be beaten in the race itself by a determined Jean-Éric Vergne protecting his title. 2 races later in Paris, Rowland would get pole position once again, becoming the first driver in Season 5 to start from the front twice. Unfortunately, he went on to lose all chances of winning by sliding into the barriers early on, sending himself to the back of the field. A third pole position of the season followed in Monaco, although Rowland would again be denied victory by Jean-Éric Vergne after a penalty carried over from the Paris race put him down to 4th on the grid. By the end of the season, Rowland had scored 71 points and was 10th in the championship, and aiding Nissan Edams to 4th in the team's championship. Now 6 years later, and after 3 years with Nissan Edams, Rowland will be returning to his debut team Mahindra Racing for the upcoming season. Edoardo Mortara's debut season was one with many ups and downs. Joining in the 2017-18 season for the Venturi Formula E team, his first race weekend in Hong Kong broke all expectations in the second E-Prix by starting P2. He capitalized on a mistake by Felix Rosenqvist and took the lead at the first turn. He led the majority of the race, with the only error of the weekend proving costly when pushing for the fastest lap. Coming into turn 2, he spun, dropped a few places and threw away his chance of victory, but still managed to recover a second place finish. The dry spell of his debut season would soon follow, scoring points in only 2 of the 10 races that followed. His home race in Zurich would add to a frustrating run of races, as it was forced to retire early on with suspension damage and no chance of glory on home soil. The last season of Formula E was the championship's most competitive season yet, with multiple rookies scoring podiums and race wins. The upcoming season could prove to be even more competitive as the grid battles in the same machinery as the previous season in the final races of the Gen 2 era. With little to separate the grid and a new qualifying format to navigate, could we leave Season 8 with even more stories of rookie success?